time. So hope you guys are having a beautiful evening. Thank you for coming back to have dinner with the doulas. We so much. We're full of gratitude for this time, for this moment, just to share with you guys. I am Nurse Ebb. For those of you who follow me know, if you don't know, that is who I am. My handle for IG is The Purpose Nurse. I am joined tonight for Dinners with Doulas by two of my amazing colleagues, now friends. They're also doulas and fertility coaches, Miss Jenn Brazelton and Miss Nicole Hunter. And so, Nicole, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Oh, really quickly, if you don't know me, I am a doula. I am a nurse by trade. I am a fertility doula and fertility coach. I am also a lactation education consultant. And I love birth work. It's my purpose. It's my passion. I love to serve. And we just like to nerd out on all these things. So, go ahead, Nicole.
I love it. I love it. So I'm Nicole Hunter. I am also a fertility coach, fertility doula. I also am a birth doula, childbirth educator, placenta processing specialist. I mostly serve clients in Charlotte, North Carolina area. But then I also cover anybody virtually. So I guess I'm worldwide too. And so, I mean, I can't add anything else. Love birth work. Love working with moms. Just love working with families in general. Everything from preconception to postpartum. That's my, as Jen says, that's my jam.
My jam.
Cool. So my name is Jenn Brazelton. I am from the DC area. I service families in the North Virginia, Southern Maryland, DC area. Yeah, I work in fertility. I do childbirth education. I do labor and delivery. And I also do Enneagram coaching for couples when they're in the birth room to really help them get into a smooth rhythm. That's one of those little extra things that I added to my business just to help the families as they transition. Because and I'm gonna throw this real quick in there before we get into the meat of the conversation, is because the family dynamic really does change in that early postpartum period. And it's so important to be able to understand each other on a foundational level, that, and not just from a foundational understanding, but a foundational level. Like, this is what they say about themselves, and this is how we navigate each situation. Because some things may seem really big to you and they're really minor to somebody else, and really being able to keep that family unit together so that we don't end in a split in early childhood and stuff like that. That's what I do. I'm a whole and stuff like that. I like to take. Eb, are you starting the questions? Are you leading us tonight? You know,
I mean, I can't. I'll give Jen a break. I know she's probably tired, but I can. Since I pulled us on over here to IG. So, the topic for tonight was going to be, what is a doula and why exactly do you need one, or what exactly is a doula and why do you need one? And so I would lead in with just saying that a doula is, we talk about it a lot on social media. You see it a lot. I think it's becoming a little trendy, but let me tell you, there's nothing trendy about this work, because it is work. Like, we are out here working. It is not just for fluff. You know what I mean? So a doula, of course, they provide like physical, emotional support to a birthing person while they're in labor. But, we're far much more like, we're your best friend, we're your secret weapon, we're somebody that's in your pocket. And I like to make emphasis on continuous support, because we're not popping in and out. We're not your girlfriend. It's like, hey, girl, you dilated yet? Okay, well, I'll call you later. Like, we're there with you to walk with it through you, hold your hand if we need to. And we're also there to support your partner or whoever is a part of the birthing tribe that's there. So a doula is just an all-encompassing thing. I know for me, I have a servant's heart, and I love to serve. And that's one of the main things I love about being a doula, is really getting to serve my families. So come on, Nicole.
So I'm trying not to be redundant, but I feel like I always go to the same thing. A doula, at the end of the day, it's a woman's servant. And so, like you said, a servant's heart. we, you know, continue to serve, and a doula covers all areas of service. When you're serving women, you're serving families. So basically go down to what the definition of a doula is. I feel like when you Google doula, you always see like, what's a birth doula? Like that's the only thing that pops up. But doula covers fertility, doula covers siblings, doula covers bereavement, loss, pregnancy, birth, postpartum. So really, we're just non-medical professionals providing support physically, emotionally, mentally, and informationally, and just covering all the areas of just serving in whatever capacity that means.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. So how can I add to it? What is a doula? What is a doula? Why do you need them? Okay, so what I would say, what is a doula? I think the easiest way to put it, it's an extra set of hands. And it's a productive extra set of hands, because Ev, you mentioned it, like sometimes we have that girlfriend who's like, hey, are you dilated yet? Or, you know, we have that, you know, that family member, hey, is the baby here yet?
Yes.
And those are unproductive hands, you know what I mean? And those unproductive hands can weigh on a woman's psyche while she is laboring. And when I say productive, like from this perspective, like everything I do is so that this season, this experience, this journey is a positive one. And so, yeah, a productive set of hands, an informative set of hands, a gentle set of hands. I think it's so important to say that, a gentle set of hands. Like a doula's hands should never be forceful in any way, where you know, they're telling you this is what you do. Doulas really come under, you know, like think spade table, right? Think spade table. Like, you know, when you come up, like, I got that high spade. You know what I mean? Like you could always come up, you know, but instead, you know, when you got a high card, and the high card is always heart, you know what I mean? Like what you said, I have a servant's heart. Like when you have a high card, you don't have to come high. You could just slide that right under. So a servant's hands, you put it right where it needs it most and stuff like that. I don't have to say that I'm effective in the room. I could just say that I'm present in the room, and my presence brings you peace. That's what I do. That's
perfect. But Jen, let me just stay heavy on the productive, okay? Because anyone standing around just taking up air, just taking up space is not helpful to the birthing person. Okay.
Absolutely.
So
and oftentimes causes anxiety and slows the whole birth down. You actually tend to go a little backwards the more people that are unproductive in your space.
Absolutely.
Look,
absolutely.
I have seen it.
Absolutely.
Protect your birth space. Protect your birth space. That's what I tell people all the time.
Protect your whole piece. And I do see some questions coming in. Are we going to get to those, guys? But one thing that I like to tell my clients is, like, this is your birth, this is your body, this is your baby. Like, protect your peace. Like, do what you feel. I like to them early on about finding their voice and saying what they need and what they don't need. So that way, when the baby gets here, you're able to say, no, I don't need visitors right now today, because you've exercised it all throughout your pregnancy.
There you go.
So, and why do you need a doula? Like, we said, what is a doula, but why do you need one? I'll just say, as far as like why you need a doula, we're all women of color. We know the statistics. We know what they say is everywhere. It's all over the place. But I want to not come from a place of fear. Like Jen says, you know, we want to come from a place of bringing you information. A doula is there to literally give you tools, information, and resources, so that I always say this, so that you can have the birth you desire. People always say, well, you can't always necessarily have the birth that you desire because you can't control birth. You can't control birth, but guess what? You get to have an outcome. You get to have a say in how things go. So many women said, they didn't ask me if they could break my water. They just broke my water. Or they didn't ask me, if I could get up and move around. I wasn't told that I didn't have to have the fetal monitoring on. So there were so many things that they just didn't get a voice in. And so why do you need one? You need someone who can be informative to you, someone who can teach you something, someone who can empower you with all these tools and resources and information to literally help you navigate this system, and someone that can help you find your voice so that you can advocate for yourself. So,
absolutely, that's great. That's great, Eb. How could I add to that? I think the only way I could add to that is, when you are well informed, you don't need to be combative. When you know how birth works, when you know how the system works, you don't have to be combative. Then you can simply be informative from that position. I don't have to be like, I don't have to clap back at you. You know what I mean? I can simply say like, hey, look, this is what my body needs right now. I know that if I change positions, that baby will change positions. I know that if I, you know, and so it's not creating an argumentative piece. And I think I'm very sensitive when it comes to creating arguments, because I think like that stress and anxiety, it takes away from the peace and pleasure of this birth experience. And so I never want to inform mom if it's going to be from a position of stress and anxiety. Right. It comes from a position of, hey, mom, this is what your body, you know, like this is what your body can do. If you feel this is what you want, then go ahead and have this conversation. Right. You know what I mean? Like, let's bring up this topic. And 90% of the time, maybe not 90, but the large percent of the time, you know what I mean? Like the opposite end, you know, like whatever hospital that we're in and stuff like that, they do their best to be accommodating and stuff like that. Like, do we as Black women have to change the way we advocate for ourselves? Yes. And the change is through education. The change isn't through your tone. You know what I mean? Like when we come up, then it takes away from our effectiveness. And I'm not saying don't ever come up, because sometimes you gotta come up. Like my husband in the birth, my husband in the birth room, he will flex on you if he has to and stuff. But that's because what he has is precious to him. You know what I mean? And sometimes, like when you don't have somebody who steps in between, like, hey, look, like, you know, who can buffer. Like I'm telling you, like a doula could be a very good buffer. Yes. And it's important to know who you have in your birth room, because everybody don't got teeth. Yep. Come on. Everybody who stands on your team, not everybody's willing to show their teeth. Sometimes you could show your teeth without having to, you know, clap on somebody and stuff like that. You could simply like Nurse Eb will flash some pearly whites at you. You know what I mean? Like, hey, look, just so you know, I know what I'm doing. So, right. What you got, Nicole?
Shoot, y'all have covered it all. I guess when I think of why do you need a doula, it just goes back to having somebody in your corner, somebody who you can call at any time when you have a question that you're not going to pick up and call your doctor because you know, that may be bothering them a little bit too much. You don't have to, you know, my one client, she says, oh, well, you know, my husband is tired of listening to me to complain. Well, call me all day. You can complain. You know, that's what I'm there for. But also to provide like the information, somebody who is just a constant until your baby's here. And so when I think about it, especially from like the fertility through postpartum period, somebody who knows every step of that. What is preconception? What is actual pregnancy? What is laboring? What is birth? Because those are all different pieces. And then what does it look like to transition into that postpartum? And having somebody on your team throughout all of that you can actually build the rapport with and just have. And one of the things I always tell like all of my clients is that your baby gets one birthday. That's it. One birthday. You don't get to repeat it. You can't do it over. So you don't want to look back on it with regret. You want to be able to have the knowledge, be able to have the information, be able to advocate for yourself when you're in that space. Like you said, you don't want to have to do the clap back. You just want to be able to, you know, come from a place and be able to provide, you know, your thoughts, be able to ask the questions and not be concerned or scared about the care that you may receive as a result of having that knowledge.
Right. That's such good words you put on that. Hey, the last thing I'm going to say to it is that you get to tell your baby their story. Like the story of how they came into the world. When I was coming up, I didn't hear stories of like, oh, it was the best day of my life. It was like, you the reason why I got these stitches. You the reason why they had to split me from end to end. You know, right. Like those, they're like, wait, what? They split who? Like, what happened? You know, like, did you get shanked? What are we talking about? You know? Right. And so like when you have the opportunity to change that birth story, that you then have the opportunity to infuse power into them. Man, the day you were born, man, your mama was in her prime. You know what I mean? Like I was the strongest I ever, that I ever was. I endured and it came out so well. You know what I mean? Like, it changes the story. And even little things like that, it changes how they develop. It changes how they see themselves. It changes how they see birth. Because a lot of what we're dealing with today is because we have been fed such negative birth stories over the years, and now we're just reproducing that negativity. Right. And so in this generation, we really do have the opportunity to completely shift it, to really turn that thing upside down and walk in a different power, like that's how I see it.
Yeah. And to that note, that makes me think, I just had a childbirth education client last week, and when I walked into their house, I did a private in-home one. But when I walked into their house, the mom was like terrified of birth. And she said, everything I hear about birth is negative. I don't hear anything positive. This person says this person says that. She said, I'm terrified to have a baby. She said, I wanted to be pregnant. I want this baby, but I'm terrified to actually have the baby. And I know there's only one way from point A to point B, but I don't know how to get there. And so walking through all of that, and actually, once she was educated and she got the knowledge at the end, her words were basically like, thank you. Like, I'm no longer afraid because everything I was hearing was negative. Now I can actually see myself being able to do this and actually coming out on the other side successful and not having to worry about what that's going to look like for me. And so that, going back to like, why do you need one and why do we even do this? That's what it is. Like, it comes down to just that in itself.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely, Nicole. And I think too, with most, I can say this more than likely, most all doulas, we feel this way. Like, we are there to, it's not about, because when you're going into, especially like the hospital system, it's kind of like you have your plan, they have their plan. But we are there to make sure that you get your plan, that you get your birth. We are there. We want to bring the beautiful energy, the positive energy, that peaceful energy. We really want to get you into this place that's best for you, that's best for baby. And you have to understand, if you're there, like, you don't know the staff, your doula has been with you throughout this pregnancy journey. A lot of people, they have providers that they've seen throughout the pregnancy that's not even there in the labor and delivery room. Or you've seen several providers throughout your pregnancy and they're not there with you. Like, your doula is there. We have been there walking you through this pregnancy process. We're there in this labor room now. It's got to be so comforting to look over at someone and they can understand what you're saying, what your look may mean, how you're feeling. And to know, like, I don't know the staff, I don't know these people, but I know my doula, and I know she's here to support me. Yeah. Because your doula does not work for the place that you're giving birth. She's there for you. She's there to support you. And so that's what I'll say.
So I have to jump in on that one. When you say like you're birthing amongst people that you don't know, like I want everybody to create this visual real quick. Like, you carry this baby internally for 10 months, right? So at max 10 months, maybe 10 months and 2 weeks, whatever it is for you and stuff. And this baby, obviously, since you're carrying it, is precious to you. And so while you are then birthing this baby, you literally have to expose your most vulnerable parts, right? Because your most vulnerable parts, from the perspective, like, this is the entry point into your body. You know what I mean? Like, it's a deep entry point into your body, because it's not just like the mouth, where the mouth just goes into the mouth, but it would be the equivalent of going from the mouth into the stomach. It's deep, you know what I mean? Because you go into the vaginal canal, then you go into the uterus, which is it's holding treasure, and so you expose it to a whole bunch of strangers.
Yes.
If you could think of it like an open wound, you would never expose your wound to strangers. You know what I mean? Like, you band it up, you cover it up, you keep it covered, and there's a reason for it, because strangers don't mean you any good, and so what happens is we get into these birthing establishments, you know what I mean, and it shifts, our body subconsciously. And I'm not even saying like like it's subconsciously. It's not even like we position ourselves to be fearful and we toughen up and stuff like that, but subconsciously we go to a place of this is not safe. And so we ourselves then hold the baby in because we have to wait until we get to a point of peace and pleasure. But this is why you bring a doula along. This is why you bring the family along. And I say both of those, not one or the other. This is why you bring them along, because the more you can open your eyes and see that there are people with you who know you, who are invested in you, the difference it makes in your delivery. When you can only see that, oh, it's just me and this person, you don't have enough ground, you don't have enough leg to stand on, and you don't have enough support. And so now it becomes easy to push over your vision, your plan, your needs, you know, and then it becomes, well, this is just what we need to do now. This is the priority. And unfortunately, a lot of times, see, it's late, y'all. It's late for me here. And so I'm getting chatty, right? And so what happens is it becomes, this is what's a priority. And then baby becomes the only thing that's important. And moms have to walk through their postpartum season dealing with trauma that should have never happened.
Right.
I said all that to say, my bad.
Like,
go ahead, girl.
Absolutely,
Go ahead.
Jen. That's like perfect. Like, absolutely. It's so phenomenal the way you put it, and it's so true. And I just, you know, and some moms be like, well, you know, I came out fine. You know, I didn't, like, just because you came out alive and your baby came out alive did not mean that you didn't suffer from any type of birth trauma. And birth trauma is real, and you can carry that with you. And so
For your all your life, your life.
Absolutely.
That makes me think of, you know, something we've learned through our fertility coaching period is being safe and secure. So even from when you first are conceiving, feeling safe and secure enough for your body to conceive, and then feeling safe and secure through pregnancy. And then when you go to labor and birth, the whole time, you know, your body is sort of trying to get into this safe and secure feeling again in order to release oxytocin, to release the endorphins, to release the prolactin, release the relaxin, all of that stuff that's working together to get this baby here. If you don't have that safety and security, your body actually fights against itself, and you're actually ending up in a place where adrenaline kicks in, and it's slowing all of it down. You go backwards, and then you end up with what? Failure to progress. And in an operating room, because I wasn't feeling safe and secure, because you're surrounded by strangers and people that are not necessarily having your vision as their vision. That's what you have the doula for. Your vision is their vision. You're creating that and cultivating that for them.
Oh, absolutely.
Come on.
Absolutely. And also how they teach us in our fertility program, also helping people to understand, like Nicole was talking about, that like adrenaline pumping, you're in that fight or fight response. So literally your brain is prioritizing, like, I have to keep this person safe, not baby, not anything else that's happening. They have to keep you safe first. So your brain is not even able to prioritize anything else. And so just think about like how you feel, like Nicole said, when you're just scared, you're just tense. You don't feel safe. You're not comfortable. You're tensed up, and you just can't even relax. Every part of you is tense. So imagine all of your muscles tense and just so tight. So that's what's happening in your entire body. So that was like perfect description, ladies. Now, Jen, we had some questions on Facebook Live. You want to run through a couple of those real quick?
We also have some here on Instagram. I don't know if you've seen them pop up. You may want to hit the Instagram audience first.
And so one question was, what does it take to become a doula? Blood, sweat, twist. No, I'm just kidding. So literally, you take a doula training. Let's talk about doula trainings, because they're not all created. Let's start with that. I love to say that because it's very true. First, you need to think about what community you want to serve as a doula. Once you decide on that, then you need to research the different programs that are out there that can help you serve that community. That can help you serve that community properly in your highest capacity. Because there are some trainings that touch on just a couple of little things, and there are other trainings that go so deep. I know I've done more than one doula training, and I always say, like, I would have been doing myself and my clients and my community a disservice had I not done more than one doula training. And so just make sure that you're kind of aware of that, and that you're doing your research on that. You want a training that definitely that goes deeper than just sitting beside a mom and holding her hand and helping her get the baby out. Like it's a lot deeper than that.
And I would say something that lines up with your vision. Like, what is your vision for serving whomever it is? Like, what does that, make sure that their vision lines up with your vision and their values line up with your values. Because just because they're a good, solid, institution, organization that's coaching that you hear from other people, if their stuff doesn't align with your beliefs, then you're not going to gain that knowledge, because you're going to sort of shut your brain off to some of that stuff.
I agree. What is it? I don't think we need to all answer this question. I think you covered it. I think those are good points. I think those are good points. Like taking more than one doula training, making sure that you're specific on the demographic that you're serving. I think that's a really good point. And then knowing that there's always more to learn. I think becoming a doula has really opened up my beginner's mind in so many ways. Like when I say beginner's mind, like I am not new to this game as a doula. I'm not, I'm no longer able to call myself young. And at the same time, I still love to learn, you know what I mean? And so there's so much about the human body that is constantly unfolding. And there's so much about pregnancy in general that can change from person to person. And so, yeah, like just, keep your beginner's mind on, make sure that you're educating yourself and not just educating yourself off of, can I say it, off of IG scrolls? Because that's not proper education. There's deeper levels to go, y'all. There's deeper levels to go.
Invest in yourself. That's the main thing. Invest in yourself. Invest in your trainings, because you want to show up as your highest self for your clients. I'm like Jen. I'm always a learner. I'm always trying to do a conference or a training or something, because what I have learned, the more I've dug deeper into this work, it's really the unlearning that you have to do.
Right.
And really that's so strong. The next question is, I'll just jump back on, can you recommend a postpartum doula that's virtual? We're all virtual. So Nicole is at a labor_love births. I'm going to tag them all in the comments. Jen is at in love births, and I am the purpose nurse, but we're going to put them all down in the comments so that you guys will have them. And Jen and Nicole, they're doing this phenomenal childbirth education too. So, hey. Okay, Jen. So that was it on IG. What quick ones do you have over there?
Okay, so the questions I have on my side
that you think are like perfect for now.
Come on. Let's see what I got. I know I got something. Nicole, you got the questions?
I do have the question. I have the questions. So usually you're the more organized one, so I'm feeling sort of good. Like,
I'm all secret back here. My dinner just got served, so
you're good. We're a little later over here. So one of the ones I would think of that we covered was, at what point in your pregnancy should the doula become active? And active was in quotes. So we were sort of just talking about, like, what did active mean, and sort of our own interpretation of that. So I guess I'll just start since I'm already talking. I would just say, when I think of active, I'm just thinking of, like, at what point do you hire your doula, and then when do they become active once you've hired them? So for me, I say hire as early as possible, but ideally 5 to 6 months before you're due. And I also say it's never too late to hire a doula. I think when we were talking on Facebook, y'all brought up very good points in that we want to know who you are, though. I have had, like I said, 2 a.m. calls where I was hired on the spot because they were afraid they were about to get pushed into a C-section. And that's never fun because you don't know their background. But, once again, we sort of are servants, and so therefore I don't think there's a too late point to add anybody to your birth team. And then when do you become active once you're hired? Immediately. I don't know. I guess some doulas put off their clients until later on, but no, immediately you start walking alongside you in this journey, whatever that looks like through pregnancy and birth.
Look, yeah, I'm gonna jump on that. If you hire your doula early and your doula has not invested in you, invested time in you, and like whatever that looks like, whatever makes you feel comfortable and stuff like that, I would say there may be some discrepancy on how well you guys vibe. And I think it's important to understand, like, every doula is not the doula for you. Like me personally, like when we right here, like, I like to be hype. I'm very much, I love life. I everything, you know what I mean? And at the same time, in the birth room, my everything comes all the way down. And so it's important for you to understand the person that you're working with and stuff like that, because I'm 100% all the time. I'm always on go. And when I need to, like, I become that still small, that still small presence, you know what I mean? That still small presence that's not going to ruffle your feathers, that's going to make sure that you remain in peace and pleasure throughout your laboring time. So how would I answer that question? When do you become active as a doula? So when I hear it, I instinctively think, like, when is doula on call? You know what I mean? Because on call is different from active. In the active period, you should just be communicating, frequently, I would say, but when you go on call, for me, it's usually about 36 weeks. I like to be available where I'm not traveling outside of like an hour or two from my location, so that I can make sure that I'm never too far from my client's birthing location. But like Nicole said, if you hire me early, like at the very minimum, like I'm doing once a month check-ins, you know what I mean? And me, I'm nerdy. Like, I'll do a face-to-face once a month, and then in 2 weeks, I'll hit you up via email and we'll chat real quick. So it's never a period of time where you like, oh, what did I pay that money for? I want you to walk away. I always want you to walk away feeling like you got more from me than you paid for. Although you ought to be paying for your doula. It is important that for the work that they put in, that you make sure you render what's due, you know what I mean? Like, doula fees, and I'll touch on this real quick. Doula fees are kind of all over the place. You never get like one location that is consistent. This is all we charge. But it is important that you feel like you got quality for the money you paid, and the person who is serving you feels like they got repaid for, the work that they put in and stuff like that. So it's both ways. It's both ways, y'all.
I agree. I'll just piggyback really quick on that, Jen. I definitely agree, because I know as doulas, we do a lot of investing in ourselves. Like, the trainings are not free. Like, a lot of the additional things that we do are not free. Like, I know I've done like lactation education. I do herbal training. We have the fertility training that we also have. So we've done like so many different things. And I know it's such an investment for us to put this type of information into our clients. So definitely, yes, invest in your doula and understand that there is value behind that. And everyone's different types of doula. I'm definitely a, sooner than better doula. I do respect that most people like to wait until after the first trimester. But like you said, as soon as you can, get your doula. And I'm like, Jen, as soon as you do your contract, your invoice, you have access to me. So I'm not just hanging out and waiting until like a certain week number to start being your doula. Like, as soon as we chat, you do your invoice, you have access, and we're talking. I'm sending you resources. We're having our meetups. We're setting up prenatal visits. And I'm not just the one prenatal visit, birth, postpartum, done type of doula. Like, I like to get to know you, know who you are, how you're feeling, what do you like, what do you not like, how is your level of anxiety, if you even have any anxiety, did you have any previous birth trauma, is there anything holding you back this time around? I want to know, why do you want to do it this time? Like, or is this your first time, or is this your second time? Most people have a negative experience and they want a more positive experience the second time. So many people say that they just didn't feel heard. They didn't feel safe. They didn't get what they wanted. So I'm literally there to, people say, well, you can't always get what you want because birth is unpredictable. When people say get what they want, what they mean is they want to be able to say something. They want to be able to make a decision too in this process and how it unfolds. So just literally being there with you, holding your hand, and just making sure that you are informed and that you feel empowered and that you're able to advocate for yourself. And so this is the hard work. It's not light work. We put a lot into this, and just know that as your doula, I am there for you. This is what I love. I enjoy it. Jen, like we're talking in Nicole, like we nerd out on this stuff. We're always doing research articles. I mean, it's just, it's amazing and it's phenomenal. Hi, Laura. Laura says, I'm a new doula here. Do midwives like to partner with doulas? Would they allow you in a birth to watch and learn? So 2-part question. Do midwives like to partner with doulas? I've worked with midwives who hadn't had an issue partnering with a doula. I will say this, they've all been different. I worked with one midwife. I can tell she was more obstetrically trained. And I worked with another midwife who I can tell she was more trained from midwifery model of care. Meaning one midwife was very just, and the other midwife was, let's let it flow. Let's do some gentle birthing. So you really, it's not even just about having a midwife, which I'm such an advocate of midwives, but any type of provider where it's a midwife, OB, make sure that they are in alignment with what you want. You guys need to be on the same page, because if this is a provider that's like pro cesareans after 4 hours and you're like, no, I want a natural birth, there's going to be some issues there. So make sure that you're just in alignment with your provider, and let your provider know that you have a doula. Don't have your doula show up on the day of delivery like, hey, here's a doula, and they're looking like, because not everyone wants you there, because you can disrupt their timeline of how they want things done. So
how they thought it was going to go.
How they thought it was going to go, absolutely. Will they allow
I would also, go ahead. I was going to just, on Laura's question, I would also say, connect with your local doula community. Doulas, are popular in most areas at this point. Connect with your local community and see if there are any doula mentors. There are a lot of doulas that are seasoned, that are willing to mentor some of the newer doulas. Due to COVID, sometimes there's a little bit of, pushback. You may not be able to go in the hospital, but you may be able to go to home births. You may be able to join them on prenatals, any of that type of stuff. So just check within the community and see who's open to walking alongside you on your new doula journey.
Yeah. And allow absolutely into the birth, that's going to also be up to the birthing person. So just understand that midwives may be open, but the client may or may not be open. And so.
Very true. Very true. So midwives, I was always under the impression that midwives were yay doulas. Look, not every midwife is yay doulas. So, I think it's important to know who you're working with. I think it is more feasible, like Nicole said, more feasible to find another doula who's willing to mentor you and stuff like that. I'm always looking for people to talk into and stuff like that, because it's helpful. Like, and so like when I say that, that has everything to do with what we do as doulas. You know what I mean? As doulas, we are pouring back into women the stuff that they should have originally known. You know what I mean? Like, our culture makes room for our profession. I think it's really important to understand it, like, culturally, because we have so far come away from supporting women and stuff like that, that it makes room for doulas. And so if you find a doula who is like serious about what she does, she is more than likely going to be willing to then pour into another doula, so that it strengthens you on your own journey. Like, and some doulas do charge a fee for that. But and again, like, if you're receiving something from someone, it would be honorable for you to repay what has been poured into you and stuff like that. So if you're looking for a mentor and stuff like that, there's definitely mentors available in your community and stuff.
And guys, we can't have too many doulas. So don't feel like, well, most people shouldn't feel this way. I know I don't feel this way. If someone says, hey, I want to be a doula, I'm like, okay, like, chatting it up with them. Like, I don't feel like someone's taking my place, or they're booting me out, or this is a whole competition. Like, people have babies every single day. And in my opinion, everybody needs a doula. Every person, every birthing person needs a doula. So it's not a competition. The more, the merrier. We welcome you. Come on in, but just understand that this is work. It's not fun. It's not just trendy to post on Instagram either. Like, it's true work in this birth space. So you're so welcome, Laura.
So I think another question we had, which was a really good question, what is the best position to birth in? So take
Come
that
on.
away, Ebony, because oh, go ahead, Jen. You want to start it off?
I'm gonna start. But I
birth
definitely
in.
want Jen to come hit us with that pelvis again, okay?
I was waiting for the semi-fowler. That's what I was like, okay, let's.
Yeah, we gotta
Go ahead, Ev.
I am not a fan of lying on your back. When I say laying on your back, I mean like this. Like, actually, you know, we always use the analogy, would you poop on your back? No, you would not. So why would you want to lie on your back to give birth? Of course, we want you sitting in a more upright position. We need gravity to come on, work baby down. We need that. We need that help. Also, imagine, I remember watching the video of a birthing person was lying on their back. And they were having her push, count to 10 and push. She wasn't breathing, by the way. You do need to breathe. We can discuss that another day, but you need to be breathing. You need circulation. So not breathing, holding her breath, and they were pulling her legs backward. How painful that sounds, and it looked even more painful. So that's where you come into the things of we need to do forceps delivery, or we have to do an episiotomy, or, you know, I'm not saying that those things may not have to happen and they may have to be necessary, but let's try to remove any intervention if we can. Let's allow the actual body to do what it was meant to do. Like, I don't understand how we, in Western society, we're all about like treat. There's no provision. There's no allowing for anything to unfold. It's like this rush society. So why do we talk about conception as this natural process, you know? But then we get to birth and we systematize it. So it's such a system. It's just a process. We have to do it this way. And it's like, why? Why do we have to do it that way? Why can we not just allow the body to do what it was made to do? Why can we just not allow things to unfold and happen as they naturally would? So I'm not a fan of lying on your back. I'm if you can get up, if you can move around. Now when that time comes, if they want to get back in the bed, understandable. You don't have to, though. Let me put that in there. You don't have to. I know a lot of people think they have to get back in the bed. No, you don't. There's not. Tell them to show you the policy that says you have to birth in the bed. There's not one. But what they like to say is it's up to the provider's discretion. That's just another way of saying I don't want to deal with what I want you to do this my way. So, but yeah, not lying flat on your back, guys, because it also compromises your spine. Jen has this phenomenal pelvis. She's getting ready to show us how this is working here. So I want you guys to literally see, like, look at this picture of what's happening when you're lying on your back and a baby's trying to come out.
Okay, so check this out. So here's my hips, right? Not literally my hips, but these are my hips. So the top of the hips, the bottom of the hips. This is that soft, what's the, I forget the name of it. Okay. Yeah, this is the soft cartilage that begins to soften and makes mom's hips wobble when she gets towards this. It's why they pick up the pregnancy waddle, right? So all these parts are working together. Now, when we take mom, this right here would be the spinal cord. So when we take mom and we lay her flat on her back, what happens is baby, like the belly is way up here, right? So baby then compresses down on all her organs as well as her spine. And so the idea is that baby has to work horizontally, right? Horizontally in order to get out. But the problem with the horizontal movement is this right here. It's the tailbone. Usually when mom is on her back, her tailbone comes up. And so if you think about, oh man, hey, look, we all adults out here, right? Okay, so when you think about having sex, when a woman lays down on her back, her vaginal opening is kind of shifted up. It's not actually in a straight line. Her vaginal opening is in a higher position. And so baby would have to come horizontally and then work up to get out. And so when mom is pushing, her problem is that she is pushing. What's happening is baby is compressing. So when she tightens her muscles, she's tightening her muscles down. And the idea is she tightens her muscles down, and that motion is supposed to work baby forward. And it's not how it works. Now, if you take mom and you put her in a rotated position where mom is in some kind of upright position, with her back up straight, her booty down low, and then mom has the opportunity to then put her legs in a squatted position. I'm not saying she has to squat, but she has to put her legs in a squatted position. When you're laying down, the reason why the provider or the assistant to the provider pushes the legs back is because it tries to replicate the squatted position. When you're laying down, it doesn't do it effectively. Now, when mom comes upright and she moves her legs, one more time, she moves her legs into a squatted position. What she does is she opens up her canal, right? So check this out. So you see my fingers up here, you see my fingers down here, right? So when we move our hips, when we take a wide squat, what happens is the top of our hips closes and the bottom of our hips open. Okay. Now, it's not that drastic. It's not that drastic, but it is drastic enough to open in that vaginal canal. So mom is then in an upright position. Baby is still, like, this is the back, this is the spine. So baby is still out here. So mom has the contraction. The body tightens, right? Tightens, pulls babies in. And when it tightens, it pushes baby down because we're in an upright position. Any kind of backwards facing, any kind of mom's back is touching the bed is no bueno. You know what I mean? Like, it's no good for mom. It's not going to maximize mom's effectiveness to use each contraction for her good. And what happens is it intensifies the pain, it intensifies the contraction, and it makes it more necessary for some medicine to be administered, whether it's Pitocin, whether it's an epidural, and it increases your chance for a C-section because you're not in the proper position. And so we would just have to, cut the baby out, whether it's a episiotomy or forceps or something like that. So it increases your likelihood for an intervention, which you may be trying to avoid. So there's the science behind what we're doing.
And I don't know if you guys saw the movement. I love the pelvis to use that because you get to see the relief. It's like a literal physical representation of the relief and how things are. And like, if you look at a lot of other parts of the world, different areas, even like as far back as Kemet, which is Egypt, but it was Kemet first, like you see pictures on the tomb, drawings of women squatting. Out. So you talk about, when did we change to this? When we come over to Western society, and think about who is that helpful for? Like Jen mentioned earlier, that's helpful for the provider, for the birthing person to get in the optimal position for the provider. It's not the optimal position for the birthing person, nor the baby, not to mention compromising the spine. Like Jen said, the pain. Think about it. Okay, epidurals. Guys, the epidural is a nerve block. It's not, you're not necessarily like, the pain doesn't go away. It just blocks it so that you don't feel the pain. And it does it from where? Most often the waist down, depending if they've done it correctly. So it's like numbing that whole area, because that is the area where you feel that pressure and that pain, like Jen showed you guys with the pelvis. And so like, that's, again, like she said, you're trying to reduce like the getting an intervention or getting an epidural or Pitocin or those things. Boom, that's one thing that you can reduce only if we just change positions. Something as simple as just changing your position. Also, if they're saying, you know what, the baby's head is just too big and it just can't come out, I'm going to have to cut you. Well, maybe if we try sitting mom up or leaning her forward or letting her squat, maybe we don't necessarily have to cut her. And so we're just all about trying to allow other things to happen, trying to give them other interventions. The positioning is really everything with a labor. It's amazing to see how positioning can help a labor progress. But I love to see the pelvis diagram, because I don't know about you guys, but I get like an instant relief when I see it, because it's like, whew. And also, women are always worried about, I'm going to poop. That comes from that pressure. Like, yes, depending on what you've been eating or what's happening, what's in your colon, that comes from that pressure on those organs, as she said, because it's pushing down on your organs, and you're just going to push that poop right on out. So yeah.
But also we talked about taking care of yourself and stuff like that, and making sure you're hydrated so that your bowels are running properly prior to going into labor, you know what I mean? And then being able to release properly. So pooping on the table, look, none of my clients poop on the table. Okay, that one girl did. But that one girl did because she ate a breakfast burrito. She did that to herself. There was nothing she could. She ate a breakfast burrito on the way to the hospital. Talk about, I'm hungry. Sometimes you just got to make the choice that you want. But nobody poops on the table, because at the end of pregnancy, I'm always talking about, hey, look, increase your roughage. Whatever that looks like for you, increase your roughage. Make sure your bowels are working. Make sure that you're getting the stuff that's going to flush you out all the way and stuff, because it may makes labor so much easier. If you think about the uterus, so say this is, so okay, so no, I'm gonna do it like this. Say this is the uterus, like there's a big balloon right here. This is the bladder, and this back here is the rectum. Now either of these get filled, now we're pressing on the uterus, and so it literally makes the contractions intensify, because as the uterus is contracting, we have other things pressing on it. And so it's important to have both of those. I always tell my moms that you got to make sure that you're using the bathroom at least once an hour once labor starts, because at this point now we're taking up room that baby needs. And so we got to be able to shift. We got to be able to work with baby and stuff like that. So
good stuff. Good stuff. I'm going to go backwards real quick though, Jen, based on something that you had said, which was, I think your words were the mom's legs moving into the position that she wants. Yeah. And so when we talk about birth positioning, it comes down to listening to the mom's body, you know, whatever she wants to do, whatever the birthing person wants to do, and how they want to move their body. No one's ever going to choose to birth on their back. Like, that's not an optimal position. It doesn't matter if you say, hey, it's time to push, get in any position you want. It's not going to be on their back. So instinctively, our bodies tell us to move our legs into a squat position, whether that's all fours or actual squatting, or, you know, using a squat bar or whatever it is, but it's never on our back. So really just listening to your body when it comes time to labor, when it comes time to push, that's just so important. And I guess at the end of the day, it's, you know, natural, you know, it's instinctive. Like Ebony said, like you go back to the very beginning of time, people were squatting to have babies. So I think that's the big thing when you're in birth, is listening, because there's nothing that's ever too crazy, or nothing that people that are actually trained and in the delivery room have not seen before when it comes to birth.
So I want to throw a quick caveat. There's actually a lot of things that people haven't seen in the birth room, because birthing in America has become so medicalized.
You're right.
That natural births are uncommon.
Okay, let me rephrase that. Nothing that doulas haven't seen too much. But you're right. You're right. There's been this standard and this rigidness to birth, which is, you know, the perception that we're trying to move away from, because it has become a step by step, almost like a manual of this is how you're supposed to do it. And birth is unique. It should be unique for every person. Nobody's birth looks like the next.
Absolutely. And if you don't do it a certain way, then you're doing it incorrectly. And that's not true. And like they were saying about we haven't seen in the living room, we also have to get back to understanding, we're going to nerd out real quick, guys. We are mammals. Okay, we are mammals, we're animals. We innately know how to do what we know how to do. We innately know how to give birth, right? So whatever you're feeling, hopefully you're in space that you feel safe enough to release that. If you want to scream, I tell my clients, if you want to scream, scream. If you want to just grunt, grunt. If you're growling, whatever you're feeling, you have to release that, because every time you hold that in, that's tension. You're holding it in. That's stressing you out. That's tensing you. And that can slow the labor. So just allow it to progress and just feel and do and flow the way you want to feel and do and flow. That's if it's and we are animals, so it can be instinctual. You may be grunting or growling, or who knows what you're doing, but allow your body to do that and know that it is okay. I think so many people kind of get shamed into feeling like they can't scream, or they can't yell out, or they can't say or do certain things, when in actuality it's a dance, but it's a beautiful dance, and it's innate, and it's what we were ingrained to do as mammals, because we still are animals in a way. I mean, I know we're humans, but we're still animals. And so do what your body wants to do, feel how you want to feel, and get in the positions that you innately, that we were talking about, that you kind of want to get in. I know one thing that has become controversial is when they're telling you, no, don't push, no, don't push, no, don't push. You're feeling the urge to push for a reason, because your body is telling you it is now time to push. If you resist that urge, that can be a danger. And so a lot of the things that we're taught to do, a lot of things that birthing persons are taught to do and have to do, are because the process has become such a process. It's become such a part of the system.
Right.
And we need you to abide by the rules of the system so that this can go right. Not let's conform and let's be supportive of the birthing person and what they need to do.
Yes, man. Look, we could talk about this stuff all day. Because when we acknowledge like the why behind what we're told, and the why becomes anything other than this is what's best for baby and for mom, then it becomes manipulation. It becomes control. You know what I mean? And then when we're talking about listening to your body, it's like, this is why I do the coaching during the prenatal season and stuff like that, so that we could get an accurate understanding of ourself, and then, you know, of our partner and stuff. And from that place, we make our decisions, you know, from that place of understanding self, we make our decisions. And it's because, so I'm gonna give you a display of how it goes two different ways. So when I was birthing my first child, I got to 10 centimeters and they were like, push, but my contractions had stopped. And I didn't know, like, it's going to sound silly, y'all. I didn't know what muscles I needed to engage.
Mm-hmm.
That's not
right?
silly.
Not silly.
Mhm.
You don't know.
So
Happens all the time.
But then for me, when I think back, I'm like, it's just your vagina, push, you know, but there's different muscle sets in there. And so there's a very specific set that you have to actually push with. And so I didn't know, like, I literally, you know, in my brain could not like hone in on which muscles needed to move. And so, so there was a little bit of anxiety and stuff like that because they felt like the baby needed to come now. And so, the nurse was like, no, it was a midwife. The midwife was like, just go ahead and let out a little scream. The problem is that you're holding on to it. Let out a little scream. This is the point where I say you have to know what's best for you. I let out a little scream, and that junk traumatized me because in my head, like, I was screaming like a lunatic. My husband was standing right there, and he's very good. He's a very good, accurate description of what, like, he'll tell me exactly what happened. Like, when I screamed, it traumatized me. He heard me scream and he was like, no, you just sound like you were being intense, you know? And I was like, in my head, I was like, ah! You know, I was all the way over. That took some time to heal from because I was terrified in that moment. Check this out. Years later, I'm a doula. I'm tending to somebody in a birth. She gets a phone call and, you know, she's laboring and stuff like that. Everything's kind of going easy. She gets a phone call from the same person over like a 30-minute period. And the conversation is, oh, is the baby here? Is the baby here? Is the baby here? And then on the third time, the person says, oh, you don't even sound like you're in labor. She drops the phone and starts screaming hysterically, so much so that me as the doula, I'm Miss Chill in the birth room. I can't get her to calm down. Like, she almost immediately needed an epidural because she had taken herself to a place where she wasn't able to come back for, because she, in both situations, were trying to accommodate other people. Now, like, if you are a screamer, you know you just gonna need a scream, girl, let that thing out. But if you're not a screamer, then don't do it because someone tells you to. It's important that you know yourself and know what you need at that moment. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a cusser, but some people might need a, you know, drop some bombs on that day, you know what I mean? But that's for the birthing mother to hold. That's her decision to make.
Right.
That's perfect, Jen, and allowing your body to go with your mind. This is not TMI, but whatever, like we said earlier, we're out here. So there was a time, real quick story, that I was like, okay, I've been doing this holistic thing for a long time, and I was trying to get rid of a lot of like not toxic items, and I was like, okay, no more pads. I hadn't done tampons in years, so I was like, okay, no more pads. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try the menstrual cup, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna try this menstrual cup. So fast forward, the menstrual cup gets stuck, so much so to the point that I thought I was gonna have to go to the ED to get it out.
Been there.
So mind you, I am totally stressed at this point. I don't know what to do. I'm on freak out mode, and I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I'm a nurse. Who wants to have to go to the ED, right? For them to get a menstrual cup out. So I'm just like, just about to lose my ish, right? And so I remember I was like, just starting to do, you know, learning about meditation and all those things. And I was like, okay, I'm literally doing self-talk, right? Positive self-talk. I'm talking to myself. I'm like, okay, Ev, you got to calm down. You got to pull yourself together. You have got to get this cup out or you're going to have to go to the ED. So literally the self-talk, the breathing, the deep breathing, and literally just kind of allowing my mind to walk me through that process. It took me about 45 minutes because it was my first time really using my breath and the self-talk to pull myself through it, but it actually worked. So literally I was able to use my mind as a technique for breathing and calming and the positive self-talk to literally allow my body to open up so that I could remove the cup. But every time I was starting to get to that place, I would like immediately like kind of come out of it, tense up, and I would close up immediately. I could not get it out. It wasn't until I allowed myself to get to that place of trance and float over that I was able to pull the menstrual cup out.
Yeah.
And
look, we are so off.
That was my introduction to mind, body is real. Your mind can take your body places that no one else cannot. And you can truly, truly use that as a tool for relaxation and like opening up your body.
We literally just went full circle because we just went back to safety and security, you know, stress and emergency, to peace and pleasure, because it all, like you said, is in the mind. And even when you were talking, Jen, about like you hit 10 centimeters, like if my client hits 10 centimeters and it's not time to push, I'm going to say rest, because our body literally like tells us sometime rest. 10 centimeters doesn't mean push out a baby.
No.
It just means that the baby can now be born, but that doesn't mean push. If it's not time to push, catch your breath. You just went through a marathon. Let's just chill out. Let's relax. When you're ready to push, then you push. Because if you had taken the rest, then you would have felt calm. You would have been relaxed. You would have been at peace. And bam, you would have pushed out the baby and you would have had your pleasure.
Yeah.
Like, so simple.
And that's the key point to having a doula and stuff like that, because like I didn't have a doula. It was my first birth. I was actually stationed in Germany. My husband and I we're a military family and stuff like that. And so I didn't have the information that I have now. And so like that story, like there's more parts to that story, but having the right support, having the right knowledge is everything. And it changes the way you recover, because like your postpartum recovery season should just simply be like allowing your womb to close back up. You know what I mean? Allowing, you know, those sensitive parts to, you know, to be refreshed. And it shouldn't be having to heal from mental and emotional trauma and stuff like that. And so, yeah. Man, Eb, what you were saying, I had a client, see, because I don't want to go off topic, but I think it's so applicable. I had a client who was stuck at 7 centimeters. She was stuck at 7 centimeters and like, you know, we couldn't get her past. It turns out like she had to get the epidural because there was no moving her forward. And so she's stagnant at 7 centimeters, even with the epidural. So I sit her down and I'm like, hey, look, love, like I saw you get to 7 centimeters and you're a champ. I know you know how to birth. You know what I mean? Like, even if this is your first time doing it, your body knows what it's doing. And so I think it's you holding it back. And so I was like, what are you experiencing inside that you're not telling anybody? And she says, I got into a car accident 4 years ago and I almost died. I had really bad back pain during this season. And every time I have a contraction, I'm reliving that car accident. All right, sweetheart. Well, we got to talk you out of this, because this is not that situation was not it wasn't under your control. This situation right here is completely under your control. And this is a good thing. So if we allow ourselves to open up in this season, baby will come here and it'll be the end point to the very good thing that you've been waiting for. Literally in this conversation, she went from 7 centimeters to 10 centimeters. You know what I mean? Like, because then like at the end of the conversation, she's talking about, well, now I'm just scared the baby's going to come without the doctors being here. And I'm like, why? And she's like, because I think I feel the head. And she's like, will you look? I'm a doula. I don't like looking down there. But I looked to make her happy. And I was like, we're just going to call the nurse real fast, because I think the baby. And I was like, in my head, I was like, so all she needed was for her mind to break down those layers that was keeping her stuck and stuff like that. And sometimes that heart work, man, that like being sensitive to your own heart, being sensitive to your own thoughts, man, that'll make a world of difference, y'all.
Yeah. And let me just say, a doula did that.
A doula did that.
You know, like that's what you get when you have a doula. Like, there's not anybody, the staff doesn't have the time, the resources, they don't have the extra staff that can stand there, hold your hand and walk you through that whole process. And, you know, and so that's why doulas are important. They're not just a fad. They're literally like life-changing. They're healing. It's so much, and we can go on and on and on, but
we can't.
Thank you guys, because Jen and Nicole are on the East Coast. I am over here on the West Coast in LA, so it's 6:35 here. This is not our last chat. This is our first one. It's been phenomenal. We have thoroughly enjoyed it. We've loved it, and we will continue these. We are going to be back next in 2 more weeks, and so I will definitely announce that. The technical difficulties will be worked out so that we can stream on Facebook Live and IG Live at the same time. But
right.
Ladies, it has been such a pleasure. I've enjoyed it. I know you guys have enjoyed it. And of course, as you guys know, we can go on and on and on because we love this work.
Yeah.
We love this work.
We do go on and on and on, even off camera.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't stop.
In our meetings, in our chat. Yeah, so we're constantly like talking about this work. So, you know, any last things you guys want to, I want to really quickly say, because I meant to post this earlier, because of course we're so passionate about, you know, how we talk about everything, we go into detail. So I decided I was going to start an email list for my community, for my clients, for my followers, because I'm really passionate about giving you guys this good information. And you put all this stuff on IG posts, only like 3 to 6% of people are like reading the posts. People are liking it, but they're not always reading it. And I know that to be true because when I started on my 120 days of going through the Prime Minister Protocol journey, people are like, oh my God, congratulations. And I'm like, did you guys listen to the video? Did you read the post? Because I'm not pregnant. I'm not trying to get pregnant, but I am taking the protocol. So that way when I do start to try to conceive, you know, my chances are phenomenal. So
I'm already there.
I'm starting the email list. So click the link in my bio. It can take you so that you can sign up. And once you sign up, you do get a beautiful gift from me. It is a free guide. It's called So You're Pregnant Now What? And it gets you on your path to having a peaceful pregnancy. We've been talking about it a lot. We talk about moving from stress and emergency into peace and pleasure so that you have that beautiful pregnancy journey and you have a beautiful, amazing birth. So, and Jen, my dear, how can they find you? Who are you? What are you doing?
How can you find me? So, Jenn Brazelton, you could find me on Instagram at In Love Births, or you could find me on Facebook at In Love Birthing and at Jenn Brazelton. I also host the Facebook page Birthing from Reality. I think it's important that you maintain your own reality and what you're birthing into the earth. There's so many different ways I could take that. If you're interested in childbirth education classes, if you need a doula virtual or in person in the DMV area, I'm available for you. Hit me up.
Cool. Well, first of all, I want to just say thank you. This has been awesome. It's been amazing. So I'm just really looking forward to how we're going to continue this and how we're going to grow it, because I see like great things just coming from it. And for anybody that's watching, make sure if you have any questions, like reach out to us, hit us in our DMs, because we definitely want to be able to answer any questions that people have. Nicole Hunter, you can reach me at a labor and love underscore doula on IG, a labor and love on Facebook, or you can hit me on my website, alaborandlove.com. So.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. We are going to see you guys in a couple of weeks, and it's been an honor. I'm full of gratitude. Thank you so much.
Thank you.